In a Windows-based network environment, accounts can be categorized as either domain accounts or local accounts. These two types of accounts serve different purposes and are used in different scenarios within an IT infrastructure. A domain account is an account that is part of a domain within a Windows Server Active Directory environment. It is used for accessing resources that are part of the domain. Key features of domain accounts include centralized authentication, meaning they are stored and managed centrally in the Active Directory database on domain controllers. This allows users to authenticate across the entire network, regardless of the machine or resource they are accessing. Another feature is single sign-on, where once a user logs in with their domain account on one computer, they can access other network resources, servers, and services without needing to log in again. Domain accounts can also be used to log into any computer or server that is part of the same domain, as long as the user has been granted the necessary permissions. Additionally, a domain account has a roaming user profile, allowing user settings to be accessed from any machine in the domain. Domain accounts are subject to group policy objects, which allow administrators to force security settings, software installations, and configurations on user accounts across the domain. Admins can manage domain accounts centrally from Active Directory users and computers, or through PowerShell commands. For example, a user named John Doe has a domain account called john.doecompany.com. John can log into any workstation within the domain, access shared folders, printers, and other resources, all using the same domain credentials. On the other hand, a local account is an account that is created and stored on a local computer rather than an Active Directory. Local accounts can only be used to log into the specific computer on which they are created. Key features of local accounts include local authentication, as they are stored in the local security database of the computer. They have a limited scope, meaning a local account can only be used to log into the local computer or device where it exists. Local accounts are independent of the domain, so they cannot access domain resources unless a corresponding domain user account is granted permissions. Local accounts are not subject to the domain's group policy settings, but they can still have their own local security settings and restrictions. Local accounts can be managed from the local computer via the local user and groups management console or through command line tools like NetUser. For example, a computer has a local account called admin with a username localadmin. This account allows the user to log into the machine itself and manage local settings, but it cannot be used to access domain resources unless specific permissions are granted. The differences between domain and local accounts include scope, authentication, profile, management, group policy, access to resources, and account type. Domain accounts are available across the domain on multiple computers, while local accounts are available only on the specific machine where created. Domain accounts are authenticated by domain controllers, while local accounts are authenticated locally by the computer's SAM database. Domain accounts have a roaming profile, whereas local accounts have a local profile. Domain accounts are managed centrally via Active Directory, while local accounts are managed locally on the individual machine. Domain accounts are subject to domain group policy, while local accounts are not. Domain accounts can access resources across the domain, while local accounts can only access resources on the local computer. Domain accounts are primarily used for user accounts, service accounts, etc., while local accounts are used for individual user access to a specific computer. When to use domain accounts versus local accounts? Domain accounts are best for users who need access to multiple computers or resources within the domain. Remote workers need to access domain resources from any machine. Environments where centralized management of user account and security settings is needed, and users who need to benefit from single sign-on across multiple services. Local accounts are useful for isolated systems that don't require domain access, administrator access to a machine when no domain account is available, security or legacy systems that don't support domain membership, and offline access where a machine is not connected to the network but needs to be used for local tasks. In summary, domain accounts are used within a networked environment where resources and user management are centralized via Active Directory. They allow users to authenticate across multiple machines and access shared resources, and they are subject to domain-wide policies. Local accounts are used for access to individual computers and are stored locally on each machine. They cannot access domain resources and are generally used for local administrative or isolated accounts on non-domain joined computers. Choosing between a domain account and a local account depends on your need for centralized management, access to domain resources, and local